So if you were thinking about getting a registered apprenticeship program in the state of Texas, you could just let me know what area you're in, and I could direct you to the person that would put your program together and get it registered for you. So as Dana said, this is National Apprenticeship Week. This is our 7th annual National Apprenticeship Week. So that means we're celebrating advancements of apprenticeship throughout the entire U.S. It's an opportunity for sponsors to highlight their programs, and they can provide and show how registered apprenticeship can provide critical talent pipelines that can help address some of our nation's pressing workforce challenges. So across the country, employers, training providers, unions, employer associations, etc., they're all hosting events, whether it's signing apprenticeship, registering apprentices, having luncheons, having events such as this, or just any type of event is going on throughout the week. We do that once a year, so they our sponsors can showcase their programs, and so they can help grow their businesses and get workers to have a new skills and better paying jobs, and ultimately a career. So we're excited about CampFire hosting this National Apprenticeship Week event. And thank you, Lynn and Dana, for doing that. And I really appreciate our partnership with you. It's been great. I know your program was registered in 2019. We have plenty of apprentices in your program, and it's real successful. And you know, some of the advantages of having an apprenticeship, registered apprenticeship program, they're paid. You know, a lot of apprenticeships say they're apprenticeships, but they don't have the registered in front of it. A lot of times they call that internship, and some of them aren't paid, but ours are paid. You get the national credential at the end. That's an advantage. You also get personalized technical assistance throughout your program, and that's always a plus. You get our DOL programs are all recognized by the VA. So if you have any apprentices that have been in the military and have any time left on their GI Bill, we recognize that, and they can use that for the registered apprenticeship programs. And the apprentice would receive a monthly stipend that would go directly to them as they're going through the approved registered apprenticeship program. So we connect directly with the VA. There's also, once you have a registered apprenticeship program, there's lots of different funding streams. I know we work closely with the Texas Workforce Commission, and DOL has sent most of the grants go to the state, which is the Texas Workforce Commission. They have a state apprenticeship agency, so they can get the programs, get the funding, and then we'll finalize the program. The DOL does. So we work closely with Texas Workforce Commission. They have a lot of state expansion grants that are out there. They have some grants with the colleges. So there's and a lot more coming next year with the Build Back Better. And so it's as Lynn said, it's very valuable to the apprentices that we have built into our apprenticeship programs, the mentorship, you know, and that makes, you know, the apprentice feel as though, you know, they're valuable in the program and they have someone to train them. So that makes the retention higher. So, And then with this program, the college credits, that's another plus that's out there for the apprentices, you know, to gain college credits through Tarrant County College and through Tarleton. So that's awesome. So we're really excited about the child care program, especially since I guess this morning I heard that there was 1.7 million women left the workforce due to childcare. So, you know, childcare is going to be extremely a hot item, ticket item for the Build Back Better plan. And so we're looking forward to doing many different apprenticeship programs throughout the state. We currently only have about 5 in the state of Texas. So yeah, that is a big occupation that that's going to be hugely growing. So I guess I'll just leave it right there and let someone else talk for a minute.
No, I believe everything you said is valuable, and I'm almost certain we'll have some questions coming to you. Before we open up for questions, we have Elizabeth representing from Tarrant County College, and she is our contact at Tarrant County College. If she wanted to say a few words before we open up for questions from the college perspective and their connection with our apprenticeship program.
Hi, everybody. I'm happy to share with everybody. Can you hear me okay? Well, yes, at Tarrant County College, we do accept some of the apprenticeship credit. We transfer that into college credit for our Associate of Applied Science and Child Development degree. And we are really, really excited to work with the incoming apprentices. And when I say work with you, we absolutely are going to walk with you every step of the way. We try to meet you when you're still in the apprenticeship program. And so as you're beginning your college career or continuing your college career, if you already have hours, we want to work with you as far as enrollment, registration. We're never just going to say, okay, go fill something out and I hope it works out for you. Like, we are absolutely figuratively holding your hand. And we just want you to know that you have our support. And we're also going to help you with picking out classes and making sure that you have all of that support. And then we also work with Teach, who helps to pay that scholarship, which is amazing. How many people would just have loved to have gone through college with such a scholarship like Teach? It's amazing. So just an amazing opportunity to be able to get a college degree and have it paid for and have the support that we offer you. And then we are partnering with Tarleton State. And so that pathway, if you choose to continue on to a bachelor's degree, Dr. Higgins at Tarleton State is wonderful. And again, will help you with every step of the way for that registration, enrollment, advising part of that. And we're never 2 steps away. We always just want you all to connect with us so that we can help you with everything that you do. And we are just very, very excited. And I would like to say happy Apprenticeship Week, right? Yeah, absolutely. So we are just so excited about this program and just the potential that it adds to childcare for Tarrant County and to our program as well. So thanks to you all. And I'll put my email in the chat. So if anybody has any specific questions, you can always email me.
Thank you, Lisa. Lisa brought up a very good point regarding the Teach application and the Teach process, because Teach pays 90% of the tuition for apprentices when they graduate. There are some criteria. One criteria have to make less than $20 an hour. We're working with another university. Teach has actually partnered with us on helping us with apprentices or directors of people who are going through the process and they make more than $20 an hour. We're even helping them with other opportunities, but that's more long term. But right now that scholarship is amazing for our apprentices. I will say that we graduated 4 apprentices in September from the first cohort. this year, because we've expanded in Tarrant County, we've also expanded to North Central Texas catchment area. We are planning on graduating at least 20 apprentices this year. So that's an amazing jump. And so we're really proud of the success of the program, and then working with these apprentices on their next steps, and also the growing pains that come with that. So there have been some growing pains, and we've been working with that, and we have a great team of people. Again, to speak to Kelly Johnson, and when she mentioned about technical assistance, she is absolutely correct. I can call her and ask her questions, because they will come with this program, and she has been there to walk us through it, because there is a lot of behind the scenes documentation, data input, just questions about apprenticeships. So she is definitely, she's not speaking just to say that, she actually gives us that support. So what we're going to do is open up for questions. I will answer the first question about who is eligible for apprenticeship. For our program, we do have eligibility criteria that we do send out, at least age 18. I will pause on that because we are also working on the early apprenticeship program, and Lynn may speak to later, but the current apprenticeship program is at least 18. They're working in a child development center already. They go through an interview process with me. So they will apply first. Once they meet the criteria for age and that they're working at a child development center, they will be interviewed. I will also start reaching out to that child development center directly and ask for information to see if they qualify to be a host site. And host site qualifications vary based on size and type of program. And Lynn can speak more to that, only because she's been in it longer than me. My experience has been, we have a lot of school readiness sites. We have a lot of TSR sites, whether you're accredited, whether you're not, we kind of work with you, but we haven't declined any host site so far who have applied for this program. We have also opened up to home sites this year. We have our first home site apprentice, which is, of course, is the director of the home-based site. So we are testing that for the first time this year, and we hope to expand that as well. So we work with different childcare centers and home-based sites. So I hope that answered your question, Leah, regarding eligibility. The main, we look at the age, of course, and then that they're working in a registered or licensed facility. Any other questions?
If I can add to that, I think most of the apprenticeship programs are usually high school diploma or GED, and just be physically capable of performing the job, you know, with or without any reasonable accommodations. And I think what you're still doing the background check through the Texas Health and Human Services for that?
We do, and because we're having apprentices coming from centers, the centers usually the background check is coming from the center. They've been hired in the center at least 6 months. And so the background check will come from them.
Great.
Any other questions? We'll leave it open to any question. You can ask anyone on the panel a question.
I think I have a question.
Yes.
So I'm from Workforce Solutions, Heart of Texas, and I've got some colleagues, I think, that were at the state conference yesterday, but we're definitely interested. We've been interested in an apprenticeship. We've worked with our community college for 15 years, helping, teachers and childcare centers get through and earn their CDA, which also with it comes 9 hours of college credit. We've worked with Teach for many years now, and we started with them because, we had some struggles getting some of the teachers actually through the whole process, and thought the payment thing would be useful. But I'm curious now, so what are the benefits of us, starting this registered apprenticeship project, or what's going to make it different from what we're doing now?
I'll jump in and take the first stab at that. So it's interesting in Texas because different colleges and universities have all kinds of different agreements and limitations, et cetera, et cetera. So you're already getting more credit for CDA than we get locally here in the DFW area. We don't get 9 hours for the CDA. We get 3 hours for CDA. So for us with Tarrant County College, the additional hours that we get come from the on-the-job learning in the second course that comes along with it. However, that having been said, when someone completes the apprenticeship program, it builds onto a career pathway that extends beyond where our early childhood educator 1 apprenticeship leads. So for you, it's what you're doing right now may be similar to what's happening with the ECE 1, or maybe it's only CDA and that's what you're doing right now. If that's the case, then I would suggest that there may be an opportunity for you to be able to get more college credit with that college that you have the 9 hours agreement with and the university associated with them. I do know that colleges are only allowed to offer so much credit for any kind of outside credit based on the total number, at least you're more expert, based on the total number of credit hours it takes to get that degree. So colleges are only able to give so many hours worth of credit. Universities can give more because typically their degree programs have more hours. But I would suggest, based on what happened between CampFire and Tarrant County College and Tarleton, that if you had some conversations with the people that you already have a relationship with, and you created the apprenticeship program, because that you would be able to get, or it would be likely that you would be able to get more credit than 9 hours, because you're getting 9 hours worth of credit for what we're getting 9 hours, and it's a little bit more. So for us, it's that 288 hours worth of related instruction. It's 4,000 hours of on-the-job learning, and it's the mentoring paired with the class assessment is what we use if you're familiar with class. And so we show competency based on that, and they get a CDA. So it's like we're doing all of that and getting the 9 hours. So I would bet if you're doing the CDA and you added on some of those other components, that it may be likely that you could get more college credit. That's only one thing. That's only one piece of it. The other piece of it is if you have host sites that are childcare facilities and they're engaged with a registered apprenticeship program, they have benefits that are accessible to them that aren't accessible to them right now because it comes through the Texas Workforce Commission. And so, for example, if somebody if one of our host sites, they then become eligible to have people placed at their centers or their homes who are looking for work and who maybe want to work with children, and the Texas Workforce Commission pays for that. If they end up being hired, then, or at least they pay for it for 6 months or something, and then if they get hired, the center takes it on. So there's some benefits like that, but that's not all. The other thing is that we're adding on, that's the very first part of the pathway. The next part of there's 2 other parts of the pathway, what comes before it and what comes after it. So after it is the ECE2 and the ECE3, which we're building out this next year. And those are apprenticeship programs that complete with an associate degree, and an apprenticeship program that completes with a bachelor's degree. What it means when it's not solely the university is that all those other wraparound services that can be connected to lifting up a childcare program and the people who work there are greater. And that's this part. Then the other component is what comes before what's happening with the apprenticeship program, and that is the pre-apprenticeship program. So right now we're having conversations for us locally with Northwest ISD, and I think I see somebody here from Northwest ISD and Fort Worth ISD. And that's working in the high schools with their CTE classes to help students along their coursework for CDA, to help them get some of those hours and to be prepared to step into the full apprenticeship program. So for us, host sites, by the way, I've mentioned that a few times, we look for childcare programs that are already up and running. We do prioritize Texas Rising Star programs, although you don't have to be Texas Rising Star. If there's competition for a spot, it goes to the Texas Rising Star provider. That's Texas's quality rating scale system, for lack of any other way to say it. So to be a host site, you have to be a licensed childcare provider in the state of Texas, licensed childcare home or center. And then the next thing that you do is to apply with Dana. There's something if you go to the CampFire website, CampFireFW.org, and you put in apprenticeship, it's under the training tab, but maybe we can also get that in the chat for you. Then you can see apply to be a host site. And there's some things like we look for quality programs to be host sites. And so, things like being in good standing with licensing and all that good stuff would be important. And then we have a conversation. The next thing is to have a meeting, and it can be virtual or in person, with the teachers, and to talk about what the program is like and all the benefits of being a part of the program if you're a teacher. And then you have apprentices at your own location. The additional benefit for becoming a registered apprenticeship program in terms of the strength and those wraparound services is it creates a part of a system that helps a center director be able to grow their own in a way that makes it highly more likely that not only you're going to retain the teachers that you have, highly more likely that they are having a bump in their wages because they're getting that additional stipend that's coming in from the milestone recognitions. But it also helps, once those apprentices graduate, they then become what we call journey workers or teacher coaches or master teachers, or however you might say that. And they then become coaches for other teachers in their center or program who want to become apprentices. So it's a true way of growing your own. And there's probably some other things that I'm not thinking of. I think the main thing is that it becomes a part of a system, a little bit more part of an integrated system and aligned system. And CDA is very much a part of it. And so what I say to anyone, Julie, like you all out there that are already doing the CDA, I'm like, hallelujah, you should so get involved with doing a registered apprenticeship program then, because if you already have that, you have a lot of things in place that you already need to have in place.
Oh, it's so exciting. So we met with Waco ISD before the pandemic started to find out about their CTE program that they were teaching, and they're doing something, but I don't think it's exactly CDA. So we wanted to talk to them about starting, because I understand with the high school CDA, like in the summer, the students that are in it can work in TRS programs and we could pay a stipend to them somehow. Have you done this before?
We haven't done that before. We're new to that. I am aware that the Council for Professional Recognition, they manage the CDA process, that they have a high school CDA specific framework that has come out. What we've been doing, and Jill, if there's anything that you want to add to this, please feel free. It's interesting because with Fort Worth ISD and with Northwest ISD, what they do is a little bit different with their child development work. And so I will leave it to Jill to talk about Northwest ISD, because she's going to be definitely, but the Fort Worth ISD, they have a class that they offer that it's similar to CDA. It's not formalized into landing in a CDA, but that's the direction. I know, Jill, that you all have aligned your stuff with some of the things that TEA has that has come out. We're trying to all work together to figure out what do those classes look like in terms of integrating to EEAP. But Jill, do you want to say a few words about that?
So currently what we have in place is in our CTE program is the kids go through the child development program or the child development class. And then after doing principles of human services class and then child development, they are now eligible to do the internship practicum of the child guidance internship. So our class is called child guidance. And that is where they go into licensed daycare facilities. Currently I have 10 students. I grew the program last year. It was 4 interns and we could only be in preschools in our district because of COVID. So we couldn't be out into the daycares because they just wouldn't let us come in.
Yeah.
Currently, we're in 2 different daycares now, licensed daycare settings in Justin, Texas, where we are located out here. And we have 10 interns that are there 3 days a week for just 2, it's a 2-block class. So it's first and second period and they do, they're there on site Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. On Mondays and Fridays, they're with me. And so we currently don't, that's why we're looking at this apprenticeship to try and link up what we're currently doing to certify them so that they can take this and into their futures. I have a couple of kids right now that the daycares actually want to hire them currently because I have a couple of them that are 18. And so, and like three other of my interns want to just volunteer more there. So there's all this, love for it and excitement, and we want to grow the program and just make it so that we can work with TEA and work with you all and figure out if we're going to work towards the CDA direction or the apprenticeship or kind of all together, which direction we're going to go.
So what 2 classes did you say they had to take before they're eligible for the internship?
So they have to take
You said principles of
services, principles of human services. And we've always usually offered that as a freshman course. And that currently in our district changed. We're now offering that as an 8th grade course.
Oh,
So
wow.
they have the opportunity to start the CTE program in 8th grade. And then we recruit from there the different pathways of our CTE programs, because the Principles of Human Services class allows them to get some exposure to the family and community, also the teaching and training pathway, human services or early learning pathway, or even business. So then from there, when they come into high school, they take whatever pathway they want to take. So the ones that can do the internship have taken Principles of Human Services and Child Development. And then they have to go through myself to be approved to be an intern, as well as at the district level as well. They have to go through a couple different interviews.
And that's something that is different between some of the ISDs that we've already learned is some of them don't. We think it's super cool that Northwest ISD has the early education specific track, but it's not available in a lot of places. It's all education, but then I have to say, if it is all education, that experiential learning becomes even more important, or at least the ability to be able to see what is it actually like to work in an infant room, so all of this really is a partnership. And so it's not something that's already created. It's so new. So we are depending on these kinds of collaborations to learn about the best ways to build it together. I did want to also mention that this next year, I mentioned the 3 of the programs, but I left out a really important one and saw some of the questions. There's an additional apprenticeship occupation that we're adding next year, and that's one for childcare center directors. And so that one will include not only making sure that the director is able to be an instructional leader in managing all that quality, but also an effective manager. So there's a lot to be said for that. We're there's a lot of work to be done. We're hoping to get some of those planning grant dollars to learn about how to do that really, really well. But you can certainly look to us to be available as a partner in that in the future.
Exciting.
I do hope I'm not confusing everyone in chat. I'm trying to chat individually into groups. So hopefully I'm answering your questions in the chat. And if I'm not, you're welcome to ask them. We have some great questions in the chat regarding home sites. And we do work with you. The priority is licensed home sites, but I understand. Thank you, Rosalind, for mentioning that. Some cities only allow certain qualifications for their home center. So we do work with you, home site directors. Kelly Johnson, was it something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I wanted to speak a little bit about pre-apprenticeships. So currently we don't register the pre-apprenticeships, but we do have the framework for it that I can facilitate it with you. So there's a couple different things about pre-apprenticeship. So you can have a pre-apprenticeship program that's say 9, 10, 12 weeks long that prepares you to go into a regular registered apprenticeship program. And makes a quality pre-apprenticeship because it has to lead into an apprenticeship program that is currently registered with us. So you have those types, and that could be any age. Now, then you have youth apprenticeship, and youth apprenticeship is 16 to 24. And then off of youth apprenticeship, you could do a high school apprenticeship. And the way the high school apprenticeship works is that actually the ISDs can be the sponsor if they partner with employers, you know, where they have to be in their junior and senior year, and they can complete the program while they're in high school. And that would be called a high school apprenticeship program. And they would get the way some of them, one of them works is I have an electrical company that has a high school apprenticeship program, and they purchase the curriculum from the electrical center, and they teach it in the school, and then they go to the IEC and get the hands-on work on the job training part. Then there's another type of apprenticeship to where the youth apprenticeship, and like I said, that one they could just do, well, they work during the summers and they work, you know, during their off time, and then they can do the apprenticeship at the high school. It's a little bit confusing, but the like CampFire can have their own pre-apprenticeship and partner with the high school, and it would be done under a MOU, memorandum of understanding, and then because they already have the registered apprenticeship site with us, so they could partner with all the ISDs, and maybe they could, you know, teach part of the curriculum in the schools and things like that. There's several different ways to do it, but youth apprenticeship is basically the 16 to 24 age. And like I said, I have the framework for all that, but this new administration, they're talking about registering pre-apprenticeships maybe next year. So we want to, you know, work on that, because I'm sure there's a lot of funding coming for that also. That's all. Hope I didn't confuse.
Thank you. No, that was valuable. Any other questions regarding that?
So it sounds like this is valuable. Every time there's a conversation, I feel like I learned something new. So it sounds like it may be valuable for us to make sure that we learn as we're figuring out the pre-apprenticeship opportunity locally. It may be worth us, Jill, maybe maybe those of us who are involved in that pre-apprenticeship committee and inviting Kelly into a meeting so we could learn about just the differences between pre-apprenticeship and a high school apprenticeship. And 'cause we want to do the best thing, but we could try to align them so that career pathway, so that still remains a viable option for individuals. So yeah, I was not aware of that. So thank you for mentioning it.
There was an earlier question and I answered it in the chat, but someone else may want to know this. In our program, to complete the apprenticeship is there are two certificates that an apprentice receives. So if they come in with a CDA already, they just have to finish what's called the Early Educator Institute. We call it EEI, and it's a 1-year course from September to May. We call that a year. So September to May. And after they finish that course, if they already had their CDA, then they would graduate in September. So that's what makes it a 1-year program. What will make it a 2-year program is if someone comes in and they don't have a CDA, they will take the Early Educator Institute first from September to May, then start the CDA class in September and finish the CDA class in February, go through the process of sending off for the required information to come and be observed, and then they finish with their CDA license, and then they graduate from apprenticeship. So that's the 2-year course. That was a question that was asked in the chat. This year, what we're doing now, and one of the reasons why we're having this session is that we are opening a CDA class in February. So we're able to take, we can't take apprentices in mid-year just for EEI because that's that Early Educator Institute is going on now, and we couldn't bring apprentices in. However, we're going to have a CDA class that starts in February. So those apprentices will come in, I'll interview them, they'll come in January, start classes in February, and they will go through the CDA, finish the CDA process, hopefully get their CDA license by June, and then they will start the Early Educator Institute in May if they don't, in order to finish. So so it's still about a year to a year and a half, depending on what they have when they come with the credentials that they have. Lynn did mention about the Milestone Stipends. Whenever an apprentice receives her CDA, he or she receives a $500 stipend. When they finish the Early Educator Institute, they receive a $500 stipend. When they graduate from our program, they receive a $1,000 stipend. What we're working on is the journey worker part of it. And we're working, Lynn is so great in her partnerships and working with this. We're working on the journey worker stipend so that those apprentices, after they graduate from our program, they become leaders in their centers, and they also will receive a quarterly stipend from being an apprentice with us and training. So that was a lot. So are there any questions so far? This is unique. To anyone, to Ms. Johnson, Ms. Nickerson, Lisa Self, Lynn or myself about the program.
I'll add and take the next question at the same time. Something that because CampFire was the first registered apprenticeship program for early education, we want to build out what we've already started, but we also want to be a big supporter of other communities. And there are several ways that we're able to do that. One way is we are able to offer our programs both in person and virtually. And we necessarily had to figure out how to offer not only courses in a quality way, virtual live, not correspondence, but virtual live, which is really important to us, but also mentoring. Again, that's virtual live mentoring, not just a recording of the teacher being sent back. And I know that's one way. That's important not only because it expands our reach and accessibility in general, but it also allows us to reach rural communities. And rural communities just don't have the same kind of resources that we do in the DFW area. And for CampFire as a childcare and education professional development provider, we have like traveled far to go offer a professional development session for like 7 people before, because we're trying to we're trying to reach communities that sometimes don't have the resources. So this allows us to be able to reach out in that way. So I want to say that, but I also want to let you know, as programs across the communities, as you may hear about other communities or be one yourself that's considering creating your own registered apprenticeship program, we're very open to figuring out, okay, how do we support and work with one another in order to be able to offer support in terms of what you do need, but also figure out, okay, what does your community already have that you don't need? If so, for example, Julie, if CDA is already happening, you don't need that from Campfire or anybody else. But there may be other components that would be helpful to have some support with for a period of time until you don't. I think we're all figuring this out together, but I can tell you this, we're very interested in making sure that we're open to and learning from what's happening to the other community in the other communities as well, because it means that we're so much more likely to actually have an aligned system across our communities that is just better for childcare providers and children. And ultimately that's what this is about, you know? And so I do want to leave that out there and just let everyone know, if you leave here today and still have questions, one purpose of this opportunity was just to meet, you know, who are the people in the neighborhood. I mean, that, you know, you could reach out to for various things. And I know any one of us on this call is very open to taking any questions anytime.
Thank you, Lynn. So we have 5 more minutes. If anyone wants to ask any other questions. I think Lynn answered the question that was in the chat about our sessions being offered virtually. So yes, this year we were able to offer CDA and our Early Educator Institute class virtually. And our mentors actually started today going out into the centers, traveling to the centers to give the host sites their equipment that's needed for the virtual mentoring. Are there any other questions? Any comments?
When you got started, how many staff or people were involved in the project? I mean, I know how these partnerships work. We all work on everything for free, but it's like, did you have like a paid point person, or would you recommend that for this grant opportunity through TWC?
Yes, and I think Lincoln, yeah.
So the grant opportunity that's out there right now it's a planning grant.
Yeah.
And so for us, one way that we're thinking about that is, well, I don't know if it would be, it may be in the form more of a consultant or somebody like that. Certainly there's enough work to be done, we think, for a person to do that full time based on all these things that we're trying to build up. We started off, and I think that's a big part of any community wanting to start an apprenticeship program is looking at the model and the pieces. Julie, if you're familiar with the old Texas School Ready, it's not actually old. I think of it like the research that was done way back when on it. Yeah, so that was the model. We use that model for not a Texas School Ready grant, but for our own school readiness program. We use that same model. And so for us, we thought, okay, you know what? And they're also getting CBA. And so we're thinking there should be like, can we make this be more valuable in terms of the next step in career and educational trajectory? So that's kind of where some of this came from. So for us, it's looking at the apprenticeship model. A lot of that Texas School Ready, that model, it reflects it really well. And so if you think about that in your own community, then it's